And I know it's a little bit dark in here, but pretty sure you guys all know what a dog kennel looks like, one of those small ones. So we've got two levers up here. It's got this door, just like this. I don't know what brand this one is because the sticker was torn off a long time ago. This is an old used one. This is the one that my sister's puppies came in when she got them way back when, before we had to get rid of them because they were eating chickens. She had no use for it, so she gave it to me, and I did for a little while use it as a sort of temporary tractor, so the grass would poke up through these big holes here. They still couldn't dig out, but they could get lots of grass, just with some tarps over the top of it. I've since stopped doing that because I have some actual tractors that work better. So yeah, I got a new idea. Since I wasn't using this, it's just kind of been sitting in quote-unquote storage, waiting for me to figure out what to do with it. Well, I've been thinking about how I kind of want to upgrade these cages. I like this setup. I like the height. These cages have done very well for me over the years. These are the cages that I started out with, and throughout the video, or well, throughout my time videoing my journey, you've seen me create other cages, like the kidding cage that's back there, this kidding cage, this, which is the same design, just slightly different, and a couple of other cages you've seen me design. But I like the idea of something that's long term. These are okay, these will last me a while, however, they do tend to break. This wire isn't the strongest. They do tend to break some. This wire is not the strongest, it's not the sturdiest. It's worked very well for me, but I would like to figure out an upgrade. And you guys all know that the cage that Sprig is in, I got that off of Amazon, and I really do like that cage. The only thing I don't like about it is the pan. The pan is too shallow. It's too shallow. I can't even put substrate underneath there to soak up the urine without it being just too much. So it's too shallow. I will eventually make what I want to do for that cage is make a flow-through worm bin to go underneath it and just take the tray out. So that's something that I will be working on in the future. Probably won't happen for a little while until I have somewhere to actually put it. But yeah, so anyways, I've been thinking about what if I got more of the cages that Sprig has. They're sturdy, I like the wire bottom, and I can just take the tray out and put it directly on the bottom because it's also got wire like this to support it. That's cool, but then it would have gaps like that below where kits could squeeze through. Plus, it was actually smaller than these cages, so I wasn't really sure I wanted to do that for my bigger meat breeds. So I'd been thinking, well, what has a sturdy cage that I can basically do the same thing with, that I could hang or put on a wall or something, and this came to mind. I have one of these kennels, and people are selling used ones all the time. Like, all the time. They're not always cheap, but these cages last a whole lot longer. They're thick wire. I don't know. So I came up with this idea, and I came out here and I looked at this one, and I can unattach this front end here really easily and just swing it down so I can get into here. Okay? So my next problem was I needed a floor. Now I knew I didn't want to do a tray. And these kind of cages I don't think come with the wire bottoms that the cage that I got for Sprig does. And if they did, I don't know where I would get them. So I had to come up with another plan. So I figured, what if I made a basket that went inside of it? Basically, just what if I made a basket that slipped inside of it? So I did some measuring, I did some test fitting, and I made a basket that goes directly in. Now the only thing I'm going to do is probably use some hog rings to attach it to the side here in a couple places, just to make sure that they don't bend these sides down. Okay. So like maybe in the corners there and maybe one in the middle somewhere, just so that those stay up there. And I'd been thinking for a while that I don't like the way they slide their bowls around sometimes. They'll end up in the middle or they'll tip them over. So I was wondering if I could do something to stop that. So I made these little basket sections that I can insert the bowls into, and they can't slide around. They don't slide around. Alright, so I have this section here, and I've been thinking about doing something that I want to call a fodder pot. I haven't decided how big it is. I'm doing a little bit of an experiment, which I'll probably do a video on that too. And so I'll probably get either a square one that will fit here, or I'll get a long rectangular one that will fit about here. And then I'll make a basket to go over it so that grass pokes through so they can eat it, and I can just replace it every day. So that's kind of the idea. So yeah, this cage so far, I really do like the way that it looks. Haven't tested it out yet, but I like the way that it looks. And it's possible that if I really like this, then I might consider making like a second platform along that line there to maybe about here, just so that they have some extra space, like give them a little bit of extra room with a second floor. So that's something that I'm considering, but I haven't. First I gotta test this out, and then I'll have to figure out how I'm even gonna add a second floor to it. But yeah, I think this would work very well for probably a single cage. Obviously, if I'm going to do nesting boxes, probably these ones are better, simply because they can get on top of them. Unlike this one, and see, this one's really big. It takes up a lot of room in the nesting box, but I do kind of like that one. I would make some changes to that one. I've used these since I have started, basically. They've done me very well. I like them. And then I have these drop-down nesting boxes over here that I've tested out, and I kind of like them. But I don't think I can. I mean, I probably could, with a little bit of work, do a drop-down nest in here, but that would be adding so much extra. No, I'm probably not going to do that. So this might end up being just a single cage, and maybe I can find wider kennels with like the side door instead of a front door that I can do for like kidding cages and stuff. I'll have to look into that. I have to figure out exactly what size this one is so that I can get more exactly like it. And I figure if I do that, I can just make a whole bunch of these, and when I need to replace one, I just take the bowls out, and I take the basket out. See, it slides right out, and I get a new one. I just slide it in. There you go. It's that easy. You know, so I think once I test this out and I make any adjustments that I need to make, this might end up being what I do, because I'm really actually starting to like this idea, because this cage will last so much longer, which means the only thing I will have to get is this wire. I'll only have to get this wire, because I can use it on the sides as baby saver wire. So the kits shouldn't be falling out of this somewhat thicker stuff. Now, kits about their size can still get through here. So my concern is, and I made it a little high, my concern is them getting over this and into here. So I'm hoping that I can deter them from that. Otherwise, the next thing I can do is I can put some wire just around, like this section all the way around, and that would probably be fine. So yeah, I'm gonna work on testing it out. I gotta figure out where I'm gonna put it. Since this cage top is breaking, I'm probably gonna replace it. But this is longer than these cages, so it's gonna protrude out a little like that. So I might put this one over here and then put this one over there, is what I'm thinking. So we'll just have to see. how that goes, but so yeah, I'm gonna work on testing this out and seeing how I like it. So any last thoughts that I have? The door was really easy to put back on. Just swing it up and hooked it in. It fits really well. It's very sturdy. I think the only thing I dislike is having 2 of these maybe, but I think it's sturdy enough that I only need to use one. You swing it open and you still can get in. It's got a big enough door. You don't have to like squeeze and finagle. I've had to do that, especially on this cage back here. This little cage back here has an itty bitty door. It's an itty bitty door. It's really hard to get in and do anything with it. So yeah, and I can make like magnets here. Put little magnets on here with like the doe's name, maybe the age, the breed, how many cats, or like whatever information I need to do. Or maybe I could get like some of that chalkboard spray and put it on here. That would be cool. Maybe I could do that. I wonder if they have a whiteboard spray. I think they do. So that could be something that I consider doing. I would have to clean this off really well, but that shouldn't be an issue. So yeah, I'm really liking how this is turning out so far. All I gotta do is figure out how I'm gonna hang it and figure out where I'm gonna put it. So I'll work on that. Alright, so it's been a couple days. So I went ahead and put a nesting box in it because she is expecting here at the end of the month. And as you can see, it actually takes up quite a bit of space in this teeny cage. This one would take up even more. So the upside of this cage would be that it's actually fairly sturdy. This wire is very thick, and I think I've said that before. The bars down here will keep this wire from bowing like these cages do. But they are smaller. So that's kind of the downside, is that they are smaller. So I'm thinking of different options that I can use to combat this. One of them is I could get a slightly bigger one of these. And I think that I would want to get one that's at least double as wide as this one for like kidding cages, grow out cages. There's a little bit more room for larger litters and such. And they would still be pretty sturdy, simply because the wire at the bottom would be able to hold up the bottom wire. So that wouldn't be too much of an issue. I mean, if you get too large, then there's like really no way to mount that. It just gets too heavy. Like if you were to do Gunner's dog kennel large, that would just be way too big. So I need to look around and see. Okay, sorry about that. The chickens are being loud. Okay, so I need to go look around at the different dimensions. I've measured this one out, and I think I've got the measurement, so I need to go see if I can find other ones that are like this. And I need to go look at other sizes. And I don't need to go look at brand new ones. Like I might go look at brand new ones to see the brands and stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm probably going to be looking for used ones that are still in condition like this, that are usable. But otherwise, I just need to go look at the different brands and the different sizes and decide which ones that I can use and for what. This size would probably be more used for a single cage, hopefully one without a nesting box. I do have another idea, which I will test out later, not on this cage, on another one. I have one sitting back there because I was doing some out loud thinking. But you remember those nesting boxes I made when I had the rabbits in the silo? I have one over here. I have them sitting in the rain so it'll wash some of the mud away. I finally pulled them out of the silo. So you remember the ones that I made with the little tunnel into? What I could do is cut a hole in the back just big enough to put that tunnel in. and then they would have access to a nesting box, which wouldn't take up any of the room in here. So they'd still have all of this, and then they would have like a little extra hidey space when it's not being used as a nesting box. So that's something I've considered, and if and when I try that out, which I really do plan on trying that out, I will probably try it on one of these 2 cages after these guys' kits are probably moved in here, or one of these. Simply because those wood boards, there's a big gap here where the wood boards aren't, so it'll make it really easy just to put one back there. So I'll just have to clean up that space over there, and yeah, make sure it's level, put it over there, cut a hole. And if I really decide that I don't end up liking it, then it's really just easy to go ahead and just take some of my scrap wire and patch up that hole, and this cage is fine to use again. But that would be an option. That's something that I'm considering. So if I do end up liking it in the use in that cage, then I can figure out how to do it here without taking too much of the integrity of the cage away. Obviously, I'll probably have to figure out how to set it up differently if I do it with this cage, especially right now, because there's a big board in the way. But it's definitely an option, something that I'm considering, and I think I have a pretty good idea of how it could be done. But again, I'm not to that point yet, so all I can do right now is do proof of concept, do the little things, and fix the flaws in it, decide what works, what doesn't work, and just try different things so that I can improve their life and improve my life. So yeah, we'll continue monitoring this cage. So far, I do really like it. I do really like the concept. I think it's going to really work. There are a few things that I need to work out, I'm sure, so we're looking at that. Alright, so during this whole move over thing, I went ahead and switched out Mama and babies into a bigger cage, and I put my buck in here. Now, because my buck doesn't need a nesting box, it doesn't take up any space, he's got plenty of space in there. Yeah, and I think for now this cage is fine. I like it. I do really like it. I think it works well for what I want. The only issue is since I don't know what brand this is, I can't really go and find others like it. And I'm having a difficult time finding other ones that are the same size as this one. So what I might have to do is find a different size if I wanted to switch over and make different ones. Now for right now, I think this is the one that I'm just going to stay with for the moment while I do some other experiments and kind of get settled down with this for now. But if I do get the other ones, they'll probably be slightly smaller than this one, and what I'll do is I'll probably use this one for the buck cage, use the smaller ones for the does, and then if I like the idea of the nesting box in the back through outside of the cage, then I can figure out a better way to make these. Cut a hole in the back, just large enough to slip that through. And then my dad suggested that we could take another piece of wire, put it into a circular shape of the hole, and then weld that in so that it would keep the support. It wouldn't take away from the integrity of the cage back there. And then we'll do that, and we'll just have to figure out a way to keep it there so it doesn't get knocked out, knocked around, and open up a hole for rabbits to escape. And then that will provide a little bit of extra space for the rabbits, because when it's not being used as a nest, they can go back there and relax. Yeah. The only one who won't need it is the buck cage. Now, something else that I had thought about was, and this may or may not occur, but providing another little tunnel that goes to another tote maybe that's full of dirt that allows them to dig. But again, that's probably way, way in the future. So we'll just have to see. So yeah, that's so far that's the experiment for that. So I guess we can say that's part 1 or something, or just the experiment for this cage. I'm going to start on the other experiment here soon. And if I like it, then we'll see about combining the 2 experiments.